Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to the very first episode of the Relationship Atlas podcast. My name's Atlas. I'm the host of this show, and I put this podcast together to help be your guide, to help you navigate through the complex terrain of intimate relationships. It's obviously ironic that there's the word Atlas in the podcast name, and my name is Atlas, but what I love about that word is it gives us a sense of we're laying out the map to relationships here and how to cross that terrain, how to get through the complexities of this terrain of relationships. And so I built this for anybody who is looking to better understand the complexity of intimate relationships, anyone who's looking to better understand themselves and the people around them, and in a lot of ways, their intimate partner, and then those just looking to improve their relationships in general. I have a huge passion for helping people build healthier, happier relationships. It's what I do full time. And this podcast I built to hopefully allow me to be able to provide a resource for you outside of social media, outside of all of the platforms that are there that will give you more of direct insight into the things that I think about on a day-to-day basis, the information that I come across. And I'd love to use this opportunity to work through the mud of some concepts that come up, both in a conversational way. I think some of these platforms allow for a conversational aspect. But again, also for you to hear my opinion, but also to hear my idea on what could or couldn't work. And my hope is that whenever you do listen to this, that you leave with a new idea or a new thought, sometimes a new skill or a new strategy to help improve the dance of your relationship, help you improve the way you operate on a day-to-day basis, again, with relating to yourself and also relating to your partner. So without further ado, I have a pretty passionate start to this conversation of episode one. And I want to talk about one of the, for me, loudest things that is getting in the way of us relating better to ourselves, to our partner, and to the world. And for me, I'm a big stickler about this, but I just want to be clear. I'm an avid user of it, and it is just our technological advancements. But let me not get lost here in battering down the technological advancements. I just want to pinpoint or help you pinpoint the ways in which are hindering your ability to, or our ability to relate to each other, to relate to ourselves, to our partner, to the world in better ways. So I want you to think about your last scroll, your last maybe doom scroll or just pastime scroll, bedtime scroll. And I just want you to think of the content that you were engaging with. And a lot of what I have seen, and truthfully, it's actually part of the content that I create right now as well, is this video platform where you're watching somebody in the background, sort of. They might be sitting there just looking at you, or they might be thumbs upping you, but you don't really ever hear them talk. And then there's this music that's playing over top to create a sensation for you, a high energy or serious or motivational. There is a music aspect that I think the video is hoping you relate to, because from there, all you end up doing is reading words on a screen. And while there is a lot of great quality, and again, I do create quality content like this is actually detaching us from relating or learning how to relate to information in the world. And because we're not relating to the information, we're not actually relating to ourselves. We're not learning what it feels like to hear somebody say something and feel the feeling of disagreement or frustration or agreement in our body. We're not actually learning how to hold that or learn how to hold that. So that's one platform of content that's, I would argue, isn't necessarily getting in the way, but is contributing to our inability to step out of that social platform world and step into relating with the person that we live with, our partner, our wife, our husband, our whatever you happen to be in as far as a relationship goes. Another aspect that is very similar is just simply ChatGPT prompts. We look for answers to our questions. We look to the internet. We look to the ChatGPT, similar to the way we used to look at Google as, hey, give me the answers. But now this one's a little bit more conversational and it's a lot more in depth. Again, what you can hear in this conversation is we're still not learning how to relate from this information. It's giving us tips, tools, strategies. A lot of it is of really high value. I use ChatGPT myself. But if those are never applied and we never learn through living, then we're never going to get the skills that we're actually looking for ChatGPT or Google to give us. We're simply going to have more wisdom from knowledge and not enough wisdom from learning the psychological capacity building. And I'll talk about that in a second. So we have one social media platform, let's say Instagram and TikTok, a lot of that is not talking. A lot of that is simply videos that we more or less learn information from. ChatGPT is the same thing. And now you have actual AI bots that are going to conversate with you. But I think what we're smart enough to understand is that if I ever talk to an AI bot, whether there's a real life voice or not, I am wholeheartedly aware that this is not another person. And so I'm always judging from that lens that there is a lessened credibility for me. And maybe there is for you, but I would bargain that there is for a lot of us. I actually have a smaller trust in this platform than I would if I were talking to a real life person who is sharing their truth with me. I have less of a trust in this bot because it's not real. And I know that on a very subconscious level. I know this is not a real platform. This is a conglomeration of information that has taken millions upon billions of fact points, video checks, movies, and so on, and taking conversational skills from that. And it actually does really well. I think it's actually incredible the way that it can operate. But there's the layer where we know it's not real. And so we're not learning from that interaction how to relate to ourselves and to the thing that we're talking to. And therefore, when we leave that conversation with this AI experience, we are still not learning what it means to relate to our partner. And so, take these three pieces of proof, if you will, that we are actually learning to the other direction. We're actually not learning in this way. We're hindering our learning of relating. You take these three fact points and you say, okay, well, I'm not going to stop consuming information in this way. And that's great. Please continue to do so. Again, I do as well. I haven't never used one of these AI bots, though. That's really fascinating. Maybe I'll have to do that one day. But when it sounded so old there, that was insane. When it comes to relating, even just that, right? I'm actually speaking out loud and I just related to the things that I have physically and verbally said out loud. If I wrote that down, I don't know, for me, I would relate less to it. But I would also not ever be able to know that maybe what I just said might make you laugh or might bring the energy up or might create a different environment here from my human voice. And so the challenge that we're facing right now is getting out of these technological support lines and getting into the world and actually forcing ourselves to learn what it means to critically think, learn what it means to face information we don't agree with, and actually have something to say about it, to use our authentic voice, to express ourselves, whether it's frustration or positivity or anger or sadness, right? We're creating a feeling by being in front of another person. And so in many ways, relating is feeling. When I think about when I was struggling to relate to my partner and when I really now feel really confident in being able to relate to my partner, a lot of it had to do with feelings and sensations and emotions. Not as much information, but a lot more of just simply holding feelings. I used this word previously in a couple minutes ago. I said capacity. And I want you to consider that word with me for a second. So capacity to me, I want you to think of a 10-liter jug or a 10-liter container. That 10 liters is, for this conversation, that's how much distress you can hold. Let's just use that as an example. You can hold about 10 liters of distress. What happens when that overflows? What happens when there is a continuous stream of distress feeding into your 10-liter jug and that overflows? What do you do in that moment? How do you react? How do you respond? Maybe for us, it's actually only 1 liter. Maybe we have a low tolerance, is another word, for distress. And so we snap a little easier or we get frustrated and lose our sense of control quicker and easier. The conversation that I'm bringing up is can we start to witness that moment of capacity being breached and hold ourselves in that feeling a little bit more without reacting to it, without letting it take control. So an example would be you are at your 10 liters and somebody comes in and accidentally trips you, or you're walking up the stairs and you trip up the stairs and you're already capacity. And this is that one extra drop of water inside your tank that's just too much. In that moment, instead of exploding, can we hold the reality that I'm at max capacity right now and sit with that feeling for 15 seconds? 15 seconds. Maybe even it's just 10 seconds. Can we slowly build capacity to hold that feeling through small micro practice, with the goal being that I used to be able to hold 10 liters of distress. Now I can hold 20. Now I can hold 25, and so on. I'm able to hold more feeling. And you might be thinking, okay, well, what is the value of holding more? What is the value of building our capacity? Well, I want you to think about how much you have available capacity-wise to hold love. How much capacity do you have to hold excitement, joy, thrill, connection, intimacy? Each bucket has its own capacity for you as an individual based on your upbringing, based on the experiences you've had in your life, and now based on what your mind has interpreted as a safe amount. And so what we're doing is not to put us in a necessarily unsafe environment, but it is to put us in a challenged environment where we actually get to hold more of life's experience. And this is why I wanted to start with episode 1 being in this conversation. I think that this is really the premise for all of the work that we end up talking about here, and all of the insight that I've ever learned is that I have learned an immense amount of knowledge in my experience of life. I have read so many books. I have digested so many articles. I have done the logical, knowledgeable work. But what has not, or what didn't come for a really long time, was my connection to the feeling. And so again, that's where social media and the ChatGPT and the AI bots come in, is they say, hey, listen, here's more information, and I'm going to try to get it to relate to you, but somewhere deep down, you're going to know you're not relating to it. So you're going to have this disconnection with it, and you're not going to feel in your body the sensations you normally would in front of a human. And maybe we'll get there one day. I don't know. But right now, we're not there. And so if we want to know what it means and what it looks like to relate to somebody more effectively, in our relationships, when we want to learn how to be and sit with that feeling, man, I'm going to call you forward for a second here. When you struggle with holding space, capacity for the feeling that comes up in you, when you are trying to hold space for her anger or her frustration, instead of biting back, can you sit with the feeling you're dealing with? Can you hold capacity for the discomfort that's coming up for you and just sit and be there and hold space for that, both for your experience and for hers? Can you create safety by doing that? Right now, the trends say no. The trends say we are really struggling to do that. So why I use that as an example is because that's where I have, again, found a lot of incredible results in my relationship when it comes to focusing more on understanding and identifying with the feeling and sensations that are alive in me than I ever have from some sort of informational book or from some sort of perspective. And maybe this is perspective. I don't know. For you, it could be. But again, I'm hoping this perspective digests into your body. And right now, I want you just to consider how your body is relating to the things that I am saying. Does it disagree? Are you feeling tension? Are you feeling like that last part? If you're a man listening, are you feeling at that last part? You're like, well, what do you mean? Like, that sounds stupid. How are you relating to the things that I am bringing up right now? If you're a woman, do you agree? Are you relating positively to it? Or are you disagreeing and you're relating negatively to it? What experience are you having right now? And my challenge to you as you listen to this is, can you, instead of react with your instinct, or rather with your first response, can you settle into the feeling for 30 more seconds? As I go quiet, feel that feeling. What is it? What are the sensations? Once you get to the emotion, can you go into the sensation of what is it feeling like in your body? The emotion is anger. The sensations are agitation, tenseness, heart racing. Metaphorically, it feels as if a rock is pushing up against me, or rather, I'm pushing up against a rock. What's alive for you there? That is where we learn. This right here with you and me, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that there's a settling that's happening as I've just described this experience and got you to get in tune with your physiological experience. In that's where the gold comes in. That's where the relating to the sensations and the feelings that come up for us, they're going to impact the way now you're hearing me. Now, whatever I had said, there's a likely chance that you're thinking maybe more clearly, or maybe with more empathy or more curiosity. Okay, well, he said this. I've identified all that stuff. I've called it forward. Now what? Now what's left? Okay, well, now what's left is, okay, well, curiosity. Like when you say that, what do you mean? Or when you say that, what does that look like? Tell me more. I'm curious. I don't know if I agree yet, but I'm willing to learn more. And that, if you can just hear that, you think about how that's going to impact the conversation you're having with your partner. But in order to do that, what we're going to need to do, again, is to challenge ourselves to step out of the technological world for moments to be able to relate to actual people, whether that be a friend, a one-off, run-in, or our intimate partner, or maybe even our family. A lot of these relationships we're actually isolating and separating from because we believe that if I just get away from it, that I will feel better about my life and I will be able to relate to everybody else better. But if I am not learning how to relate to the thing that bothers me the most, then when that comes, that will come up again in another scenario until I am ready to actually face it. It will not just leave my life. And I am the one who suffers in that process, and I don't want to do that. So I'm drifting here. This is the first episode. As you can tell, I have a lot of really, really big things to talk about, a lot of exciting things to talk about. But my hope with any of these episodes, unless if there's a guest, is that these stay short, succinct, and to the point. And so I'll wrap this up with this. There are platforms available for great information. And in a lot of ways, they are going to help us with our dynamics and our relationships if we actually put them into lived experience. Again, this knowledge versus experience conversation. But I actually want you to I want to encourage you to step away from some of that knowledge and go out and have a coffee with a friend. And in that coffee with the friend, my belief is that you're going to learn more about yourself in that 1 hour than you are in the 5 hours you're spent Googling something or ChatGPTing something or talking to an AI bot. I believe that the way that you'll be able to reflect and learn on the things that came up through sensations, through feelings, and through the thoughts that showed up for you, and now how you feel leaving it, I think that for me is really where we learn what it means to be a human for ourselves and in the world. And that is a superpower when it comes to our intimate relationships. Because I understand myself. I'm relating to myself really well, and I've done so through curiosity. I'm only naturally now going to likely lead with curiosity with you. Not always, right? I've been doing this work for a long time. I don't always lead with curiosity. I just made a video the other day about taking our turn. It was my partner's turn to talk. I didn't lead with curiosity, and I decided it was my turn to talk. And we, rubbed up against this for a while, right? So we don't always get it right. But what we were able, and what I hope you're able to do through practice, is come back around and understand what happened through relating, through human to human relating. So let's start there. This is the Relationship Atlas podcast. Again, I'm your host, Coach Atlas. If this work resonated with you, again, I am a coach. I do support individuals and hopefully couples is my preference with this kind of work, as I believe that we learn through relating so much more than anything else. And my hope is to be in front of you or with you, actually supporting that journey. Again, being your atlas to relationships, helping you guide the terrain, helping you map out the next steps of where you want to go and where you want to be in your relationship. So if that speaks to you, I'll leave that there for you. You can feel free to email me, atlasmecca@gmail.com. Go to my socials, atlas.relationshipcoach, and click on the link in my bio just to read a little bit more. Love to get on a discovery or a connection call with you just to see how I can support. Otherwise, please, 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 if you like this, share this, like this, subscribe to this podcast. This is just the first of many episodes, a lot of micro episodes coming your way. I'm really excited to hopefully bring on some incredible guests, some real life relationship insight from everyday people, and then also from experts who are also invested in this field and invested in people learning about how to better relate to themselves, to their partners, and to the world, with the goal of us just having so much better of an experience with relationships. My hope is that this podcast leads us through into a completely different relational world. Thanks for listening. Excited to see you in the next episode. Talk soon.